Perry Mexico is a small, mostly indoor amusement park just outside of Mexico City. Located in the basement of the Galerías Perry Norte Mall, this place features nearly 24 attractions. Most are targeted towards kids, but there are a few noteworthy attractions that can appeal to older guests as well, and I'll explain why in this review. Galerías Perry Norte opened in 1992. Just 3 years later in 1995, Perry Mexico opened. Initially, the park was entirely indoors, but around 2010, they expanded outdoors to a former soccer field adjacent to the mall. I can't speak too much about this section though because it was unavailable when I visited last month. I don't believe it was due to the season. Rather, it seemed to be because I arrived so late in the day. This section just had a few kiddie rides, so it was no loss for me. To access this park, most people will drive. I took an Uber from downtown Mexico City. That took roughly an hour with traffic, and it cost me roughly 300 pesos or $18 US. If you do have your own car, the mall has ample parking. The first impression of the indoor section is quite promising. A giant balloon Ferris wheel stretches towards the ceiling, cycling alongside the second and third levels of the mall. It serves as an advertising beacon for the park. To access the park, you take a series of escalators down to the basement. There, you'll find a large arcade. This actually looked to have a nice collection of games. The park itself doesn't really have a grand entrance, but there are turnstiles. To gain entry, you need to buy something at the ticket booth. You have 3 options. First, you can purchase an unlimited wristband for 240 pesos or $14 US. Second, you can purchase a package that gives you admission and 4 rides for 150 pesos or $9 US. Third, you can purchase a single ride for 30 to 50 pesos or roughly $2 US. If you're interested in the Huracan roller coaster, that will run you 40 pesos. These prices are very reasonable. Once inside, it was hard not to be impressed by how colorful this park was. Rides have multicolored paint schemes, and the walls are covered in decorative murals. There's no natural lighting though, and this park was a tad darker than I would have liked. There are no windows here because the park is below ground level. The indoor area is ultra compact. You have the Ferris wheel and a platform in the center of the park. The Huracan roller coaster runs around the perimeter. Then the remaining space is mostly filled in by kiddie rides. It takes maybe a minute max to make a complete loop of the park. Again, it's tiny. My biggest issue with this park was the lack of crowds. Usually, it's a good thing when a park is quiet so you don't have to wait. With Perry Mexico, there were maybe 5 other guests in the park. That was it. So there really was no atmosphere. The place sort of felt dead. Compare that to the mall upstairs that was absolutely bustling. From what I can tell, this park doesn't usually get too busy, so my experience is not too uncommon. Rides were just sitting idle, waiting for riders. Because of the low crowds, the park was using rotating ride operators. There were a few employees hanging around the midway. To ride something, you just had to find one of them, tell them which ride you wanted to experience, and then head right on over. The few employees I interacted with were quite nice. Just a note if you're visiting from abroad like me, the employees I encountered only spoke Spanish, which makes sense because this is not in a super touristy spot. That being said, I had no trouble getting around or buying tickets with my limited Spanish. Everything was pretty straightforward. Now let's talk about the ride lineup. There is currently just one coaster here. I know they've had some portable kiddie coasters in the past in the outdoor section, but as of this recording, the only one you'll find is Huracan. This is one of the few Zir Tivoli coasters uniquely placed inside a mall. This has the thrill level of a junior coaster, as the ride feels more like a high-speed monorail, as it gives a bird's-eye view of the park. The visuals are pretty good. The best part has to be the 540-degree helix at the end. It not only wraps around a flat ride, but it's partially enclosed in a tunnel. You get 2 laps with each ride, and the coaster is smooth. If you want to hear more, I recently released a separate review for this ride. Most of the flat rides are geared towards kids, but there are 3 for adults. Globos is the park's most prominent ride. This is the Ferris wheel and you get 2 revolutions per ride. you only get a limited view of the park. Rather, it does a better job showcasing the upper levels of the mall. Bumpo is a set of bumper cars. The cars look to have decent speed and power, but too few people were in the park to make it worth my while. Then you have Wakala. I have never seen this type of ride before. It is like someone combined a Chance Trabant with a Flying Bob style ride. The swinging vehicles designed out the usual laterals, but every few passes the spin of the base and wheel would sync up to offer a mild thrill. This ride also had a super long cycle. My ride took over 7 minutes. A decent chunk of that was the ride taking an eternity to slow down, but nonetheless, I certainly got my money's worth with this one. And despite the low crowds and minimal staff, every single mechanical ride appeared to be available the night I was there. Beyond the rides, the park has some active attractions. There are a series of trampolines, a ropes course in the rafters, and a big slide with some steep dips. The park also offered a Trail of Terror haunted attraction, but that was not available during my visit, which is a shame because the Mexican parks do horror attractions fairly well. What else does this park have? You have a few carnival games. Then if you want to eat, there is just one stand selling some snacks. This makes sense though because most people take advantage of the food court upstairs in the mall. This also allows the park to use as much space as possible on rides and attractions. How much time will you need? This is a small park. You will not need too much time here, especially with the limited crowds it sees. If you're a thrill seeker, you are not the main audience. I needed just a half hour to get 2 laps in Huracan, try the big Ferris wheel, and take a spin in Wakala, and I felt more than satisfied. I could see kids spending more time here, maybe 2 hours if they take advantage of the active attractions. Just make sure to check their Facebook page for the most up-to-date hours. The calendar on their website has not been updated since July. Meanwhile, they post an image of their calendar in the first of each month on Facebook. It is worth noting this park's hours can vary from the mall. It tends to open later and close earlier. The park is typically open daily until 8 or 9 p.m., but there are some Mondays when the park is closed entirely, so again, make sure you check. Do I recommend this park? For kids, definitely. It is very colorful, and the low crowds create a stress-free environment. You can bounce from ride to ride without having to queue at all. Then if you're at the mall anyway, it may be worth popping in to ride 1 or 2 rides, especially considering how cheap the park and rides are. For coaster enthusiasts, I don't think this park is a must. The main reason I decided to pop into this park was because Six Flags Mexico was closed on the Wednesday when I was in the area. I don't foresee myself ever returning to this park, but it is solid for what it is. I would have loved this place as a kid. That's the park's target audience, and they seem to do a good job there. So those are my thoughts on Peri Mexico, the mostly indoor theme park in the Peri Norte Mall. What are your thoughts about this park? Have you been there? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, I would appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and you considered subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.